Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, the Beauty Myth. Learn the beauty secrets of the goddess next door in this action-packed Isis series adventure. Get Isis, the Beauty Myth at online booksellers everywhere today. I recently saw a picture of Lil Kim where she was completely unrecognizable from the pictures that she took early on in her rap career. Black self-hatred is a hell of a drug. Now, when I looked at this picture of Lil Kim, I was deeply disturbed by this image because it looked like something that came straight out of a horror movie like the Puppet Master series. It's scary to think that a black woman would go to these lengths to disfigure herself, all on a quest to go for looking to try to meet a white standard of beauty. However, when it comes down to black female self-hatred, it can drive a black woman to go to these extremes. And with Lil Kim, what's really tragic about her whole story is that this beautiful young black woman who came out in the 90s was basically one that most guys basically found to be attractive as a beautiful brown-skinned sister. Unfortunately, when it came down to Kimberly Jones didn't love herself, and as she didn't love herself, her self-hatred put her on a quest to try to go out here and buy the appropriation of whiteness in order to make herself fit into the ideal image of white beauty. And this is the type of self-hatred that some black women have as related to their whole frame of thinking. They sit there, and as they see the white woman being elevated to be the ideal standard of beauty, what they do is look to go to a spectrum of what I would call extreme behaviors, like doing things like putting on blonde wigs and in some cases bleaching their skin. And if they do have the money, what some of them do is go out here and look to do what Lil Kim has done, going out here and look to either do things like go out here and have nose surgery to try to erase their black nose, or go out here and look to participate in things like chemical peels to erase the brown from their skin, or they go out here like Lil Kim and go out here and put on gallons of makeup in order to go out here and look to appropriate what they believe a white woman looks like. Unfortunately, as they look to appropriate what they believe a white woman looks like, they turn themselves into a caricature that looks more like an abomination that came straight out of a horror movie, but shows us the real horror of self-hatred in the black female mind. And when it comes down to the black female mind, this self-hatred is the thing that basically drives these women to these extremes. And as they're driven to these extremes, they go to these lengths, and they want to go out here and look to say that they want to do this for black men, but that's a lie that they tell themselves. No, when it comes down to most black men loved Lil Kim when she was beautiful and brown-skinned, when she was posed provocatively on the cover of her debut album, Hardcore. Most brothers out here loved Lil Kim. They thought she was a cute little girl, little sister, and basically she was the dream girl that they wanted to get with. Unfortunately, because of Lil Kim's self-hatred, she turned herself into this nightmare. And as she's turned herself into this nightmare, she's basically become completely unrecognizable. And as she's become unrecognizable, she's really reminded me of what I wrote in my story, Isis, the Beauty Myth. Now, back in 2013, I wrote a story called Isis, the Beauty Myth, where Isis and Esteem went into a black-owned cosmetics store called Sepia to go out here and check out the cosmetics. And as they did a beauty scan at Sepia's store, this is where Rahima Sanders, the owner of Sepia, then found out that Isis was over 2,000 years old. And after she found out Isis was 2,000 years old, she wanted to kidnap the goddess to find out her beauty secrets as related to what kept her young. However, as she went out here and found out about Isis, what happened was that Isis then met Rahima, and Rahima's face was basically like Lil Kim's, basically a twisted caricature where she had basically just had so much plastic surgery that she didn't even look like a human being anymore. Never thought I'd see the day where life would imitate the art I put in one of my stories, but here we are. I mean, what's scary to me is that this black woman, Lil Kim, basically has turned herself into the same type of thing I talked about in my book, Isis the Beauty Myth, with Rahima Sanders, where her obsession with youth and beauty and whiteness has basically led to her going out here and turning herself into this abomination. And as she's turned herself into this abomination, she doesn't see her own value as a black woman. She doesn't see her own self-worth as a black woman. And I dare to say even her own humanity as a black woman. Sadly, that's the tragedy of Lil Kim, and it's the tragedy of many young black girls these days, because I see more and more black girls these days participating in the same type of self-hating behavior that Lil Kim has participated in, where they basically just are obsessed with whiteness to the point where, again, they don't even want to wear their natural hair. They're out here wearing all sorts of makeup that's several shades lighter. I mean, I've even seen Venus and Serena Williams participating in the same behavior. Again, beautiful black girls who basically grew up under their father, Richard Williams, who tried to teach them pride in blackness. Unfortunately, as these girls got out here in the world, they got out here around these white people, and it was all about white acceptance, and they wanted to go out here and be the ideal standard of white beauty. And as they got caught up in the ideal standard of white beauty, that's where all this black self-hatred started to manifest. And as it manifests, what happens to many of our young black girls, like Lil Kim, is that they get caught up in thinking that they need to be white in order to be beautiful, not understanding people love them as black women. Many men like myself, we love black women, but black women sadly don't love themselves. And as they don't love themselves, it's hard to go out here and share love with that black woman. No, she gets so caught up in white supremacy and the white supremacist ideal that the white woman is perfect and that the white woman is the most attractive and the most elevated in the world, not to see the black man who wants to elevate her and wants to go out here and celebrate her beauty and wants to see her as beautiful. No, what happens with many of our black women is, again, they get this white supremacy in their black female minds. And I talk about this in depth in another book I did called Isis Dark Incubus. Again, these self-hate issues are basically the thing that lead to many of our sisters participating in self-destructive behavior, whether it be going out here and, again, putting on that blonde wig or putting on that makeup that's several shades lighter than they are, or even going out here and participating in toxic relationships with either white men or non-black men. Basically, what happens is that these women are so caught up in their self-hatred and their quest for white acceptance that they don't see that the problem is that they don't accept themselves as black because they see black as inferior. And as they see black as inferior, what happens with these women is that they wind up destroying themselves. And it reaches the point where it basically, in some extreme cases, becomes like Lil Kim. Because when I look at Lil Kim, again, it's really sad, because I remember growing up in the 90s. I remember, there was a brother, I was working at Food Emporium. We was talking about how fine Lil Kim was as a sister with her beautiful brown skin. We all loved brown skin Lil Kim, but sadly, brown skin Lil Kim didn't love herself. And now she's turned herself into this just abomination, this whole thing that looks more like something that came out of a horror movie, like she got a hold of the substance for real. And it basically is a horror as related to things. Again, it's a horror to see a young sister who was absolutely, again, considered to be the woman who every brother wanted to have on the wall of his bedroom and would have basically wanted to share their life with, turn herself into this twisted caricature, an abomination that tries to look like a white woman, but it's basically lost all of its humanity. I mean, This woman is just unrecognizable when you look at this picture, just completely unrecognizable when you look at it. I mean, I look at this picture and it basically proves a point that the late David Carroll made about trying to classify a black woman as a possible mental illness, because only a person who's mentally ill would go to these extremes. And when it comes down to black female self-hatred, it has basically made many of our sisters mentally ill. I mean, this is what happens when you have this obsession with whiteness that many young black girls have, because they see white women basically everywhere on magazine covers, in many of these major movies and motion pictures. And sadly, what's sad is that when brothers like myself try to go out here and try to present images of black women and try to tell stories of that, try to celebrate black beauty, like I did in Isis, the Beauty Myth, and other books that I've done, like All About Marilyn, and other books like Eternal Night, where I go out here and like the Thetas, where I talk about brown-skinned black women and talk about the beauty of brown-skinned black women. Sadly, many of those sisters can't hear a black man because they are spellbound, and they're spellbound because they want to fit themselves into a black box that's acceptable to white people, and they believe that by appropriating whiteness, they can be accepted by white people. But what happens is that these women wind up turning themselves into a freak show and turn themselves into something straight out of a horror movie. And that's what I believe is one of the greatest horrors to ever happen to our sisters. Again, this deep self-hatred that they have, that many of our sisters don't want to address. Many of our sisters don't want to address this issue as related to their self-hatred, because only a person who hates themselves would go to these extreme lengths to turn themselves into this twisted, distorted image and believe that this is beautiful. No, this isn't beautiful at all. No, Lil Kim was perfect the way she was, and all of us brothers, we were willing to accept this sister, but sadly this sister didn't accept herself, and as she didn't accept herself, she just shows us the horror in the black community of our black sisters as related to the demons that drive them, as related to their self-hatred, because our Father God did not make a black woman to become something like this. No, our Father God made the black woman perfect. Our Father God made the black woman beautiful. But sadly, this black woman continues to listen to these devils, and as she listens to these devils, she winds up destroying herself. And this whole picture of Lil Kim shows us the twisted reflection of whiteness that many of our sisters are obsessed with, to the point where they basically, again, twist themselves into this abomination that basically perverts everything God made them to be. Now, if you want to learn more about how self-hatred affects the black female mind, you can pick up my books, Isis, the Beauty Myth, and the books of the Isis Cyber Goddess saga, such as Isis, the Beauty Myth, Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess, and Isis Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, to see how self-hatred can drive a black woman to destruction, with Rahima's part of that story. And you can also learn how the self-hatred of the black female mind can drive a woman to not love her own black man in my other book, Isis Dark Incubus. And both of those books are available on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and they're also available at other online booksellers like Barnes & Noble and Google Play. And you can also go out here and pick up the paperback versions at big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me talk more about black self-hatred and how to overcome black self-hatred, because I write about this in books like I do, like the Isis series, and other books that I've done like Spellbound, you can go out here and pick up all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and all the other online stores that I mentioned. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about issues in the black community as related to self-hatred, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door must take on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Runway of Doom. The goddess next door struts her stuff on the catwalk to take on a runway of rogues in this action-packed all-new ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS Runway of Doom at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.